Game started.
Helmuth, Denny. Okay, let's try e4 here. 4e5. Let's see, let's go back to the Ruy Lopez. Been playing the Italian game a lot. Let's see if we can get an old-fashioned Ruy. Okay, this is the delayed Steinitz defense. That's okay. The knight is pinned, but if I play d4 now, is he going to just play b5 and unpin and then win the pawn? I think I can still grab the pawn, but I want to avoid a pin on my knight, so I will play that move first. Okay. And then he's going to attack my pawn, so I end up in a kind of a slow setup. Yeah, that can happen when you don't know the theory. It's probably correct to play d4 right away. Okay, back castle. I can still do the slow build-up with c3 and d4 and bring the knight over in the king side and get a typical Ruy Lopez type position. In fact, I can do the knight maneuver first while the pawn structure in the center is quite solid, and black's committed to castling kingside. The only thing I forgot about is it would have been good to throw in the move c3 there somewhere because now I can grab the bishop. Yeah, so should I take with the queen? Maybe. I mean, he's going to gain a tempo against the queen here, but I don't know if the if the knight on b3 had much of a future on the queen side. I really planned to bring it over to the king side. So anyway, not the most technically accurate way to play. Let's continue the knight journey. When the queen gets kicked, it's just going back to c2 or d1, maybe c2, sort of shoring up the center a bit. And then when the knight gets to g3, I can think about pushing with d4, because the knight will help support the e-pawn. And there may be ideas, if the circumstances are right, there may be ideas of getting a knight to f5, which would be the ideal thing. Okay, so knight g3, bishop e3, pawn to d4. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. And what are black's plans? He needs to find a role for his dark squared bishop here. A lot of times it's rook e8, bishop f8 is a plan, just to retreat the bishop, get the rook on a better file, and the bishop is a good defender of the kingside pawns. What else? Other tries would be just to push on in the center. He's got a lot of queenside expansion already. Pawn to d5, I take, he takes. Leaves him with kind of a weak pawn on e5. Okay, so I'm going to continue with my plan. Knight g3, bishop e3, pawn d4. So maybe he wants to get his bishop all the way to g2. Also, this takes away the f4 square from my knight. Can I play... I can play d4 immediately. Maybe I should do that rather than develop the bishop to some square where maybe it doesn't really want to go. I mean, maybe the bishop really wants to be on h3, h6. So if I play d4, takes, I take, he takes. I can take with the knight hitting his bishop, and it leaves him with a backwards d-pawn. Of course, he doesn't have to take. He might just sit here with the position as it is. If he doesn't take, I will definitely consider, okay, so he took. Well, once again, he doesn't have to take. He could sit on the position a bit. But, yeah, so he kicks the queen. Queen to e2 so as to not block the bishop. He does have bishop. That's annoying. He has bishop to bishop c4. Okay, bishop c4, queen to e3. Once again, I'm blocking my bishop. Even though I didn't want to block it, I end up blocking it anyway. But from e3, maybe I've got some squares to go to. The knight can't harass it because this square is covered and this square is covered, so it's free from further harassment for the moment. I can kick this bishop away with b3, which I will probably do shortly. Let's see, if he tries to attack my queen on this diagonal, I've got this square covered. g5 is covered by my knight and my queen. Okay, so let's kick the bishop. And, well, I could exchange here and win a pawn on e5. Pawn takes, knight takes. And he's got this open c-file. He can play rook to c2. I don't really like that. Let me continue developing. This might be a good diagonal for the bishop now that my queen is blocking this one. This diagonal looks to some open squares on the king side and puts more pressure on the e-pawn and allows me to bring my rook to c1 here and counter the c-file pressure. If he plays rook to c2 now, I'll probably have to defend my bishop. But then I could bring the other rook over to c1. Okay, what's going on? Knight moves. Don't look that appealing. Pawn takes, bishop takes, or knight takes. I guess knight takes. Knight hits, covers the c2 square, attacks the light squared bishop, leaves black with this backwards d-pawn. And maybe I can get some kind of discovered attack against the knight, although right now that knight is well defended. If this bishop were to move away and I were to put my queen here, then I would have an attack potentially on the knight. Okay, and one thing you always have to consider is whether it's possible to sacrifice a knight. This may seem a little bit crazy, but sometimes you can sacrifice a knight on f5. So knight f5, pawn takes, knight takes f5. Knight f5, pawn takes, knight takes, and I'm threatening check and checkmate. But that might be too slow. Let's think about this. Knight f5, pawn takes, queen here check first. No, I have to bring the knight first because queen check, the king moves over, I bring the knight in, then he brings rook to g1. And knight here is not good enough. Okay, just a simple pawn takes. He takes back with the knight, hitting my queen. Okay, knight f5, pawn takes, knight takes. With the threat of queen here check and mate. He moves the king out of the way, so I don't have the check. And I don't see that I have anything else. Okay, plan B. I take the bishop. Yeah, you have to try out those sacrifices sometimes, but I don't think it was working. I could look at that in the postmortem and see if that had some merit. Now, let's see, I could take the knight. What if I just get my queen away from this pin? And this, my e-pawn is well supported. He could push on with d4. d4, rook d1, d3, maybe queen back to e3 to try and defend. Might be tricky. But okay, so d4, maybe I play e5, kicking his knight. He's got knight h4, a knight h5. Knight h5, I have queen here, queen h6, but he has bishop f8, chasing the queen away. Yeah, the Ruy is a pretty solid defense. I doubled his pawns over here, but he's got 2 pawns against 2, and my pawn is backwards, so it's not not a real advantage, or not much of one. We both have dark squared bishops, so he no longer has the advantage of the bishop pair. Yeah, so he decided to take. That's probably good for me that he took. Can I chase his queen away and win this knight? Like if I play my rook here, where does the queen go? I have 2 attackers and he has 2 defenders, but if the queen has to run away... I guess he can play his knight to... d5. Attacking my queen. But if he plays knight d5, I have queen takes e4, or queen to h6, threatening mate. Yeah, he just moved his queen away. Oh, but the queen defends laterally. Bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes. So knight here, I guess. Yeah, knight takes. There's still no real mate threat. Queen here, he can just return with the knight or even the bishop. So knight takes. I'll probably play rook takes. Does he have any great discoveries against the rook here? The bishop. I guess the rook is defended and the bishop only has a few squares to go to.
Game adjourned.
Oh, that's no good. Well, I hope he reconnects.
Game started.
Okay, well, we got the game back. Let's see. I was going to take his knight with my rook. And let's see what he can do now. I can double rooks and maybe get pressure on this bishop. He can play his bishop to c5, putting pressure on f2. That's dangerous, though, because I have queen to h6. I guess queen h6, he can play f6. Okay, so he goes there with the bishop. How about if I go here, double the rooks, and then maybe I can penetrate on the 7th rank and go after f7 there. Let's see, what can he do? He can play bishop g7. Bishop g7, rook to d7. Bishop takes bishop. Queen takes here, check. King moves, queen there, checkmate. So after bishop g7, rook to d7, he can't take my bishop. And he's got to defend the f-pawn. So I think rook to f8 is the only move. Can he defend that way? No, that doesn't work. That's one of those tricks. But you come in here with the queen, and he has no choice but to move the king, and then it's checkmate. So yeah, rook f8 was the only way to defend the pawn. You can't defend through the other piece here in this case.
Black resigns.
Okay, well, that was an interesting game. I will upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.